That's a beautiful place. Okay, this is a secret beach over here in the path from Nafplio all the way to Carthona Beach. Kalimera παιδιά από το Nafplio. Now this video is for you if you're a foreigner that is thinking about relocating here to Greece. And these are 7 things that I wish I knew when I first moved here to Greece. Now this is not going to be a negative video, but these are just things that I have learned after living here for 14 years and counting as a foreigner here in Greece. Now, number 1, this might seem an obvious one, but being away from family and your culture, your country, okay? So I've moved away many years ago. I left my hometown, my home country, 20 years ago or so. As I'm recording this, my grandmother is 96 years old, okay? But my grandmother, for example, hasn't met my 2 beautiful daughters, right? When you live abroad, that's the reality of it. You know, it's such a hard thing. Even though we travel and even though my mother has come and visit and I have seen my family, the truth of the matter is that when you live in a foreign country, you know, life is happening over there in your hometown, in your home country. People are getting old, people are being born, and people as well are dying. Okay, I have experienced those 2 things, my friend. I grew up in Venezuela, so Venezuela is quite far away from Greece, right? But if you're English and you're around here in Europe, obviously distances are much closer. They're not so far away, like say South America or Australia for that matter. Okay, number 2, speaking the language. If you don't speak Greek, you're gonna have a very hard time here in Greece. Do not believe the hype of all these people that are telling you that everybody speaks English here in Greece. I mean, it is true that most people speak English, but you'll be surprised that once you live here, if you do not speak the language, you're gonna have a very hard time communicating. If you have just relocated here to Greece, you just moved to Greece, and you've been here for a couple of months, of course, nobody expects you to speak Greek. But if you've been living here for an extended period of time, and if you're planning to be here in Greece, you certainly should be studying Greek right now. I get a lot of comments here on the channel, people asking me, how did I learn Greek? And the answer is the same way that anybody learns a language. You just need to immerse yourself in the language. There's no shortcut. Get a book, learn how to write. You need to watch TV, listen to radio, movies in Greek, talk to a Greek. I mean, do whatever it takes in order to immerse yourself in the language. I was speaking yesterday to a friend of mine who lives abroad. He's from Venezuela too, and he's been living for 6 years now in Hungary. And his son, who just turned 11 actually, he speaks Hungarian very well. You know, kids adapt very quickly, very fast. But my friend does not speak any Hungarian, and I told him, what the hell are you doing? You know, he even, you know, he has no intention of living from Hungary. He's a Hungarian citizen, right? From Venezuela. And I said, you're not planning to go anywhere else. That's where you live, right? You have your kid there, goes to school, you have a life in Hungary. Why you're not learning the language? It's very hard. Of course it's hard. All languages are hard. For anybody that does not speak the language, it is very hard to master a language. But do not be mistaken that you could be here in Greece and just speak English. Okay? Even if you're in a place where you're full of expats and you're full of foreigners that they have created their own community, that's not a great way to be here in Greece. You're actually missing out big time. So don't do that, you know? I mean, if I was gonna move tomorrow to Japan, everybody in Japan speaks English, but am I not gonna be able to learn Japanese? I will make it my life's mission to learn Japanese if I am moving to Japan. You know, yes, of course I will get by with English here and there, go to a shop and speak in English, but come on, man, you wanna see what the whole life is about in that foreign country in that language. So don't be fooled by this idea that you're gonna be living here in Greece. And yes, you could get by with just English, but I'm telling you here that at one point I did not speak any Greek whatsoever. I was like you, okay? And I can tell you here right now that I know many people from England who speak Greek, and they learned the hard way, which is just by living here and interacting with people, and just, you know, there's just no shortcut. So make sure that you do your homework. I'm still learning Greek, you know. My daughter makes fun of me the way I speak Greek. I get compliments from some of the Greeks here, but my daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, she says to me like, you know what, you just don't speak right? So I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get better at Greek, and it's something that we as foreigners have to come to terms with and do the work, do the homework. Okay, another thing that you need to take in consideration when coming to Greece is one of the downsides of coming to live to Greece as a foreigner is high unemployment, okay? But then again, in every country, unemployment is a big problem. The biggest question is like, what are you gonna do for a living, right? When I relocated from the UK here to Greece, our master plan was to work in a cafeteria. So my in-laws had a cafeteria for many, many years. And our plan was to like relocate from London, from the UK, all the way here to Greece and work in the cafeteria. This was excellent because I did not have to go to find a job. And that way I could learn the language, I could be in the system, I could earn a living to support my family. And it was a great plan, you know? So that was the idea. What happened is that did not work well. That did not go well at all. We lost all our life savings that we brought from the UK here to Greece. We invested all that money in that cafeteria, and I became all of a sudden someone who had to run a cafeteria, and I had no idea about the Greek culture and what the cafeteria culture is. I was baptized by fire. For those of you who are Greek, leave in the comment section and let everybody else know what a cafeteria is. So you have to imagine this foreigner that is learning Greek, coming from London all the way to Elefsina and work in a cafeteria with papudes who want to be served a mese, right? And here I am saying like, hey, this is how this cafeteria is gonna be run from this point on. I worked so little in that cafeteria that I did not qualify for unemployment benefit. I became a stay-at-home dad immediately. I was in the system somehow as unemployed, but without any compensation whatsoever. And, you know, it was just a bad deal. So from that point on, what happened is that I started to work online. And that's the birth of my entrepreneurial journey as someone who works online. In fact, from that point on, this is all I do. I just work online. And I had to take stock of all of the skills and my abilities and my talents and make something of it online. So I am very grateful for that experience. I am very, very grateful for everything that happened with that cafeteria. So, you know, from there, I turned, you know, all of that into an online business really, because I was just unemployed. I was unemployed in a foreign country and I had no idea what I was going to do. And in terms of employment, it was really, really hard for me to get work. So my wife became the main breadwinner. And that's how I became a stay-at-home dad, because it was easier for my wife as someone who is Greek to go into the workforce and get a job. So that's exactly what we did. But, you know, when I get comments from Greeks, fellow Greeks that say to me that I'm living the Greek dream or the Greek lifestyle and I haven't paid the price in order to deserve this, you know, they don't know my whole story. And I'm going to dedicate a whole video about this, the cafeteria years and what happened. You know, because it was really tough, man. It was a really, really dark time. So if you're relocating to Greece, you have to think very, very carefully of what you're going to be doing in terms of earning money and how you're going to support yourself. I'm a big believer in entrepreneurship. I am a big believer in working for yourself. And, you know, I am a big believer of the online space. So I am forever grateful that I went through that hardship, because today I work completely remote. I work 100% online. In fact, all of my income is in US dollars. But that's a story for another video. And I'm gonna certainly do a video about how I earn a living here in Greece. But it's all thanks to the cafeteria. It's all thanks to a cafeteria story where I had a secure job here in Greece that did not go very well. Okay, another topic, I wasn't sure if I wanted to bring this up here on this video, but selective racism. Okay, as someone who comes from Venezuela, I understand this very well. On this side of the world, when I say that I am from Venezuela, people seem to receive me and welcome me very, very well, because somehow I am exotic. I am from South America, and people just welcome me. However, here in Greece, like in any other country, there is selective racism. So depending on what country you're coming from and depending on the color of your skin, you will be welcome in a certain way. I'm not trying to be negative here about the Greek culture and the Greeks, because Greeks are very, very welcoming when it comes down to xenos, okay? When it comes down to foreigners. But you have to understand that certain things apply the same way that it will apply in your country. So when I was living in the States, for example, and I will say, hey, I'm coming from Venezuela, it will be perceived differently. The first thing that they will think of is someone who has just, you're from down there, right? And I don't want to get political or this channel is not about that, okay? But you have to be aware of certain things when it comes down to coming to Greece. Depending on your background and where you come from, you're going to be perceived in a different way, and somebody's going to give you a label. So I hope I make myself clear here with this a message, and I'm not trying to paint a negative picture here of Greece, but this applies to any country for that matter, okay? Another thing to consider if you're thinking about relocating to Greece is that Greece works in seasons, okay? Most businesses operate in the summer. Everything is seasonal. So if you're thinking about moving to a Greek island, I invite you to go and live in that Greek island in the winter. Things are completely different here in the winter time, so you have to be aware of that. So things shut down completely in the winter. It's hard to understand if you've never been to Greece in the winter time, if you've never lived here for a whole calendar year and see the whole thing unfold. But I really invite you to do your homework. Here in Nafplio, life is very different in the winter. In fact, in Tolo, which is very close to Nafplio, it's pretty much a ghost town in the winter time. And people live there. I know people that live there. There's schools, but everything is shut down. And this, of course, brings me to the next topic, which is limited access to services and products. Right? When I was living in London, I had access to everything. Concerts, big bookshops. I'm a sucker for a big bookshop. Just walking into a bookstore and buy 5 books and then, take them home. It's something that I loved to do when I was living in London, okay? I had access to all of these concerts, museums, malls, foods, services, products. You can just buy stuff whenever you feel like it. Here in Greece, it's a little bit different. Yes, of course, if you live in Athens, you will have access to most things because it's the capital. Same goes with any other big city here in Greece. Thessaloniki is the same. However, I live in the countryside and I live in a very small community. So I don't have an Apple store, for example. I don't have a mall. There's just one movie theater. It's a very small one, but it's lovely. I love it like that. I don't need 25 movie theaters. I don't need to have access to all the museums the same way that I had access in London. That's the lifestyle I live. That's the lifestyle that I'm living right now today. And that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to do in order to have this at my doorsteps. It's something to consider though, because if you want to have access to services and products the same way that you have it in England, for example, if you live in a city like London, which is where I was living before I relocated here to Greece, then you have to be mindful of that and be aware of it. So, if you want to buy something that is, that you probably take for granted now because you live in London, you can just walk into the store and buy it. It's not going to happen when you live in a place like this. So you have to be mindful of that. And finally, bureaucracy. As someone who grew up in Venezuela, I can tell you right now that I am very familiarized with bureaucracy. Anybody from Latin America that is watching this, if you're from Latin America and you're watching this video, you understand bureaucracy very well. If you're from South America and you move here to Greece, you'll have no problem dealing with bureaucracy. For the rest of you who are coming from England, America, Canada, Australia, anybody who comes from this type of countries where things seem to work better or seem to not have so much red tape, then you're gonna have a big culture shock. Again, for me, I'm all right with it. I don't endorse it, not one bit, but I don't suffer as much as someone who has never dealt with so much bureaucracy and so much red tape. Here is a big problem in Greece when it comes down to red tape and bureaucracy. There's no secret about it. Greeks know this very well. I know it. I've been living here for many, many years, and I have experienced many things that will come as a shock for you. As a Latino who lives here in Greece, I still get shocked by certain things. The term fakelaki is something that was foreign to me. If you're Greek, please leave in the comment section and let everybody else know what a fakelaki is. There is a lot of red tape for very basic things, and it's just part of the culture. You just have to deal with it. You just have to embrace it, dive deep, navigate, but there is the other side, okay? I'm here to tell you that there is another side, and you will manage to navigate it the same way that I did, in the same way that others have done it, okay? But it's something that you really have to be aware of. I'm gonna do a future video about what do I do for a living. I wanna really tell the story of the Cafeño a little bit more in detail so I can explain my background and how did I arrive here in Greece in 2010 in the midst of the Greek crisis. And I lived the whole thing, man. 2010, 11, 12, 13, when the conversations about Brexit were happening here. Capital control and stuff, you know, it was crazy. I was terrified. So I lived through all of those years. And, you know, here we are today, living still in this beautiful country. I'm doing my bit for Greece. This video is not a negative video. This is a positive video. And if you have been following me here on the channel, you know that I love Greece with all my heart. This is the place where I will die. I can tell you this right now. Drop in the comment section as well if you would like me to talk more about how I relocated here to Greece, what exactly I had to do. You know, it's an interesting story. Like anybody who quits their life, especially with a newborn child, pack their bag, quit their jobs and relocate to another country, it's a story that needs to be told. That's for sure. So I have shared this with anybody that is interested in my story. In fact, I know many Brits who live here who have done exactly what I have done. So my story is not unique. And there's certainly people who have done what I have done, and they're living right now here in Greece still. Families, you know. A good friend of mine and a friend of my wife's. 3 lovely kids. She's British, married to a Greek, and she's been here, I don't know, like the same amount of time that we've been living here, you know. And it's somebody that I can relate to, you know. And it's beautiful to just connect with other people. And that's one of the purposes of this channel, is to connect with other people. Not only that want to come to Greece, that want to relocate to Greece, but as well with other foreigners who are living here. Whether you call yourself an expat, an immigrant, or whatever, doesn't really matter. I've been told multiple times here on the channel that an expat is a weird term for somebody like me. Whatever, you know, I use the word expat in order for me to reach out to a bigger audience. Yes, I'm an immigrant because I live here and I have no intentions of going anywhere. This is where I live. But I know a lot of people that, you know, consider themselves expats. They don't consider themselves expats. It really depends. It's just a terminology that we use in order to explain our situations. I've been told as well that I am Greek already because I live here for such a long time. But the truth of the matter is that even if I become Greek, which I am in the process of applying for Greek citizenship, and that's just a formality really, I don't need it. And it's not because I'm married to a Greek, by the way. It's just because I am a British citizen and I moved here before Brexit. That's the reality. I haven't had the need to use the fact that I'm married to a Greek in order to become a citizen of Greece. But yes, I am very happy to be a foreigner here in Greece. I'm very happy that I can do these videos. In fact, these videos will be very different if I was a Greek, right? It wouldn't have that thing, you know, because it's different, right? It's very easy to be from your own country and talk good about your country. It's kind of like bias, right? You're from here, right? But I choose to be here with all the negatives, with everything that I'm talking about in my video. I choose to be here with all the difficulties. People think that I moved here because there's job opportunities, because the economy is great. I moved here because I love it. I fell in love with this country. I mean, I don't know how much more simple I can put it. And I'll take the whole pack with everything negative that I can say about Greece, which, you know, I think I've earned that right, but I will never talk bad about Greece, ever. And if you've been following me here, you know that I only speak about the positive things of Greece. Actually, I defend Greece from the Greeks. Some Greeks are very negative, and there's Greeks out there creating content, telling Greeks to go abroad. Greece is already a very small country, man. Population is very, very small. You have young Greeks who have gone to foreign countries to start a new life, which is completely understandable because that's exactly what I did when I left Venezuela. And I just happened to do it to Greece. In fact, I moved from the UK, from a more developed country, quote unquote, where things are better. And everybody was telling us, what the hell are you doing? Moving from the UK to London to Greece. Absolutely everybody told us that. And here we are, man, 14 years later, I'm doing a video about telling you why you should consider coming to Greece if that's something that you've been thinking about. And the content that really resonates with a lot of people, especially Greeks living abroad, and when I get these messages in the comments, in the emails, like, hey, I'm a Greek American or Greek Australian, and I'm thinking about going back to my hometown, like, right, you know, like my family left Greece in search of a better life in Australia, in America, and now I've been thinking about going back to Greece because I saw one of your videos. I never thought that I will inspire a Greek, a second-generation Greek living in Australia. That means the world to me, right? You know, even though I'm not Greek, it's a pleasure, and I embrace the whole thing that Greece has become my home and has adopted me in that way. So if that means that I have to do videos like this ones and talk about the good and the bad, and at the same time say like, hey, everywhere's the same, you know? I have lived in Venezuela. I grew up in Venezuela. I lived in Canada, the States, England, and now I'm here in Greece. And of all these countries, I chose Greece. And I always say to people, even if you gave me £1 million, I will never go back to either England, America, Canada, or Venezuela. Maybe Venezuela, because Venezuela, it still hurts because it's where I grew up, right? But now that I'm here, Greece has become my country and has become my home, okay? But that doesn't mean that I don't miss where I come from, if that makes any sense, right? Yes, there's certain things that I miss about the States. There's certain things that I miss about England, of course. England has a very special place in my heart because that's where I met my wife. That's where I was born. That's where my eldest daughter was born. It's a very, very special place. You know, London has a very special place in my heart. It will always have. But I choose to live here in Greece. And I want to do a good job with these videos to promote the positive of what Greece has. And if I can be a vehicle for that with these videos and document my journey, right? Like I'm just literally going for a walk. I decided to record a video. Now I'm going home and do some work. You know, get excited about life and hopefully, you know, this will translate in these videos, man, you know? I know life could be very, very different for me. As I'm recording this, it's a Friday morning. I could be commuting right now to go to work. Instead, I'm here. You know, I don't take this for granted, not for one bit. Was it hand down to me? No. I worked for this. I worked for this moment of being on a Friday morning, walking, right? And shooting a YouTube video. And now going home and doing some work. I'll edit this video later on and I will upload it, you know. And I want to inspire other people to do something similar. Whatever it is, your journey might be different than mine. You know, your journey is completely different. We all have our own path to walk. I'm just walking mine and sharing it here with you. Anyways, σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ, παιδιά. I love you very, very much. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in another video, my friend.